Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Today, joining me right here in studio, it's the incomparable Bruce Smith. Look at him with his mustache right there. What a great lip duster that is. Bruce Smith will be joining us as well as Joe Sakic. Oh, there he is, Joe. Joe, where'd your stick, Joe? Probably left it in Colorado. Couldn't make it on the plane. And joining me, as always, my tiny cock. There he is. You don't have a name, tiny cock, do you? George? All right. Fun. George the Tiny Cock is joining me. Today on the show, I want to talk about some things I saw this week, shows, programs. I'd like to start out with the documentary on the 1986 Mets. I think I'm leaning a little bit too much. I'm not digging that. I gotta find a way to not lean in. I don't think I have to lean in. I think this microphone will be good enough from here. All right, we're gonna cut that out. Hey, so I want to talk about the documentary on the 86 Mets. I finished watching it this week. Fantastic. I was 7 when that was going on, so I don't remember it a ton, but I remember growing up a sports fan in the 80s and being in New England. Obviously, I wasn't a fan of the Mets or the Red Sox because my dad was a Cardinals fan, so I grew up a huge Cardinals fan. At that point, I hadn't quite fallen in love with the Expos yet, but I was about to. But anyway, I just didn't have skin in the game. As a 7-year-old, I don't remember. I'm sure I watched some of the games, but I didn't know all the things that I learned in the documentary. Because as you go forward as a sports fan, people would always talk about that series, how close it was. Obviously, the Bill Buckner whiff, and at one point, people just assumed Bill Buckner lost them the game by having that go through, but it was already tied. So Bill gets that and steps on the bag. We're going to extra innings. There's still more game to be played. So it wasn't necessarily that itself. It was kind of that capped off what was an amazing blow up, where I believe they said there was 16 pitches where the Red Sox could have won the World Series, but didn't. And that was 86, and they didn't win again until 2004. I want to say for the first time. So that is quite the run of time. And that's back when Boston were lovable losers. And man, it was just a much better time. Anyway, the documentary was great because it showed you how Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden kind of were great talents, but fell off the map. And what a fun team the party atmosphere that Mets had around it. But man, they were that close to disaster at all times and just found a way to win because they were that nice a team. It was fun to hear from all the old guys and see what they look like now and hear their take on different parts and things that they did throughout. And I mean, if you saw the Chicago Bulls documentary at all, I mean, it kind of similar for that, but man, really in depth about that one particular season. A little bit of lead up and obviously a little bit afterwards, but mostly just focused on that 86 season, which is cool because sometimes, teams have one good season and that's like all you need as a fan for a while. You don't need a dynasty all the time. And just to reference myself, I'd say, the Nationals won in 2019. That was awesome. And I felt like we were going to kind of have a little dynasty and we traded some players away and we might be back soon, but it wasn't going to be a dynasty. And, this Bucks sign behind me, I don't know if they're going to be able to still be one of the top teams. I think they'll still be a top team in the East, but honestly, they could not win for another couple of years, and it'd be fine. People just be cool with it. I think there are certain teams that like have we need to have a dynasty. That's what our fans want. That's what our need. Like the Yankees or the Lakers, like you need a couple championships in a row to be a dynasty, or they've set the bar too high almost for themselves. And sometimes the smaller market teams, you get a win and you're in. But the Mets, they were not a small market team, but their fan base felt like one because they were losers for a long time. They won in 69. They lost for a long time, were embarrassingly bad, and then got good in the 80s, won. And then I think they've only been back to one World Series since, maybe two, but they haven't won since 86. So they've had a long drought. And now they're just that team that tries to rebuild and they try to buy high price talent, but they can just never do it. They're just not there. But anyway, it was a great documentary. I thought it was shot well. I really loved all the input from all the different players. I got so many people to like comment on stuff, and it was nice that they paralleled how New York City was also going through some traumatic times, and it seemed like the Mets got good as New York was bouncing back. And then once the Mets dynasty kind of fell, it had a little resurgence of bad stuff happen to it. So it was kind of interesting parallel. Pretty fun. Definitely not a Mets fan, kind of a Mets hater, honestly, but I appreciated this doc. It really reminded me of the way baseball used to be. One team won the East, one team won the West, and they played in the NLCS, and that's what it was. But there was no other versions of the playoffs. It was just two teams made it, and they fought to go to the World Series. It felt like it meant more. It really just did. And the series they have with the Astros to get there very rarely gets talked about. Well, it was a good series as well. And I did not know about Mike Scott and the scuffing of the ball and all that stuff. So I thought I particularly enjoyed that part of it because, I felt like I knew how the Red Sox series was going to end. I think most people did, but I kind of forgot about that Astros series and how good that was and how good that team was. And I shouldn't have forgotten how good that team was because this guy used to play RBI baseball. And I think it might have been around 86. And I played with those Astros. That was the team I used on that game because they had Nolan Ryan, who was my favorite pitcher. And he just threw gas. They had those great multi-striped Astro uniforms. But again, nice to know that the Astros were treating even all the way back in the 80s. You definitely saw a lot of scuffed balls, and knowing that Mike Scott, he was only good for a cup of coffee. One has to assume that they're what they were saying about the scuff balls. There's some validity there. That was one of the coolest things one of the coolest docs I've watched in a while. Love sports docs. And that one was pretty solid. So definitely a recommend from me on that one. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Bruce Smith, you got anything? Bruce Smith does not want to talk about Buffalo Bills football right now because they lost in week 1. A tough loss at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I did not see a lot of the game, saw some highlights. There weren't enough of them for the Bills, to be honest. It looked like they had a lead, but it wasn't big enough. Didn't seem like they had the offense going. Hopefully they'll bounce back. I know they will. They'll still be one of the better teams in the AFC. I don't think this is going to be a huge setback. My Broncos got to win in week 1 over the Giants, but the Giants are going to be a very bad team, I think. So I don't put a lot of faith in that win, but still a good win. I think Denver can be a team that finishes with an above 500 record and challenges for a playoff spot. This is kind of their way of letting the league know that we're going to do some things. Very talented lineup all over the place. The biggest question is Teddy Bridgewater, and he played well in week 1. So if he continues to play that way, Broncos are going to be in it. All right, so talked about a few random things, got those things off the chest. Now it's time to talk about life, the final frontier. Are we still rolling? Are we recording? We're recording. Whoa. All right. What are we talking about now? Get some water in here. Cut out this out. You got to raise the pinky. You can't have that touching your bottle when you're drinking. You got to raise it up. It's a classy move. All right. Well, one of the other things that's been going on lately in life here is I've created the basement. I can't really pick this up and show you around. It's a work in progress. We're not done yet, but I've been turning it into a little bit of a podcast studio, a little bit of a hangout. I've been using my couch. I got a brand new couch while I was in Texas. My aunt bought me as a housewarming gift. I really only sat on it for a couple of months before I packed it on a truck and moved back to Boston. It's been sitting down here in the basement. It's had stuff stacked on it for a long time. In the last couple of months, I've started to take stuff off it. I've been selling a lot of stuff on eBay, just trying to clear out some of my collection, some stuff I don't need. Some of my collections is just like, do I need these things? I've moved so much and moved these things around. I don't use them. So if I can sell them, make some money, get them out of my hair, I'd like to do that. I do have a very small storage unit, which is literally a stone's throw away from my front porch. I could actually hit it with a stone. That's how close it is. So yeah, anyway, just trying to create this basement as a nice space for me to come down, be able to record. Recently started a podcast with my cousin. I'll try to put the link maybe below if I'm doing some editing right now. Is it there? Did I get it? No, it's over. You got it. Oh, I got to point to. I got to point to that side. Ah, there we go. I don't know. Maybe that works. Maybe it doesn't. Anyway, started a podcast with my cousin about the Orlando Magic. Want to set up in this same kind of area to do it, and I really enjoy getting into this with him. We've done a couple of episodes right now, and it's going great. It's a small niche market. Obviously, it's a small market team, the Orlando Magic. We're both big fans. And I won't go into too much detail about it, but we're having a lot of fun with it. And it's made me really want to, like, I invested in this microphone. I'm probably going to invest in a better camera at some point. I want to get back into this. I want to get back into doing like what I had before called Pichcast, where I just like had my friends and family on and would just kind of talk to them about like life and things. And I'd have like a few questions for them, and then we'd play games. And, you know, I had a few bits and stuff on the show, and it was a lot of fun. And I had a lot of people who knew me, who listened to it, they really enjoyed it. I've missed doing a podcast or having something to do that's creative. And me and my cousin plan on doing this podcast like every other week. It's not going to be every day or anything like that. So I wanted to have something else to keep going in the meantime. I feel like I would want to record a little bit more than that. And also don't want to just be stuck to talking about the Orlando Magic. I'm thinking about potentially branching out into having like a wrestling podcast. I'd also like to perhaps do a podcast on all my other favorite teams, and what I saw, or like I'm kind of talked about at the beginning. I've always thought about doing a like what I watched this week kind of thing. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube. Sometimes there are short videos where I learn something or whatever it is, and so I want to think about that as well. And I also have been playing a game called City Skylines, which I really enjoy. I watch a lot of videos of that as well, but I've also been playing it myself and recording some of the activity that I do as I play. So some of these things that they're bubbling. I want to do them. I've been very busy at work. It's been a very tough time for us at work right now. We're shorthanded, and a lot of things have been happening that have made it challenging. But we're getting through, and I hope at some point that I have even more time to invest in going forward with podcasting and doing some of this kind of stuff. So that's where I want to get. Those are the goals. Could take a while to get there. Depends on how far I branch out, depending on the success of the Orlando Magic podcast with my cousin. He can do some of the editing on that show. And, you know, I don't want to spread myself too thin by starting 4 or 5 different podcasts for different stuff, but I do want to talk about a variety of different things. I don't want to always be pigeonholed into one thing. So not quite sure what to call any of these shows or anything like that yet exactly. So, you know, these things will happen as we go forward, and I'm optimistic about it. Real quick, just to talk about coming back from Austin, moved back to Boston in February. And it was pretty fun when I first came back. Just kind of getting acclimated to the area, and just kind of like getting my feet wet back here again. And it was pretty cool at first. And then I kind of in April, I just kind of like hit this really deep depression and just didn't really want to do anything. And it was bad. It was bad times. Like all the fun and newness of coming back had worn off, and I started thinking about a lot of stuff and just thinking too much sometimes, and not being able to enjoy the things I normally used to do. I got to the point where I even stopped playing video games, and I just lay around watching TV sometimes, and just I lost my way. I wasn't me. And, you know, I have seasonal depression, so I've had bouts of it small before, but this was the longest version I've ever had of it. And especially to have it during the summer, it's kind of crazy. Right now it's September, I think 17th or 18th today. And it's been going away in the last couple of weeks. I felt a lot better. But other than that, for most of the summer, it's been a big part of the life. And I think that's one of those things a lot of people just don't talk about. I know people my age, I came from a suck it up, get out there, do it. And that's kind of what I've done my whole life. You know, you have a moment where something might cause you anxiety or something like that, and you just kind of suck it up, you know, you just do it. And it's like, during that time when I was really depressed, and even a little bit now, it takes all of my effort to just like be at work, be a regular human being, and not like project what's going on inside me out on like our guests or our employees, like just and do my job well. And that keeps me focused. It's nice. But in a way, it's like uses up all of my energy. And then when I'm done with it, I had nothing left. I just wanted to sleep all the time and lay around and do nothing, and just was very unmotivated to do anything. And it's not a good feeling. It's not where I want to be. People are getting to the point where they're talking about their problems more. And so I just wanted to be able to share some of that stuff that's been going on with me. And I think as I started seeing a therapist, start telling me some ways that I can work on things. Part of that is talking. Part of that is discussing things with more people, getting out there, pushing myself sometimes when I don't feel like going out, to just take a drive, go somewhere, walk around a mall, do something, get out there a little bit. And that's been important for me. Doing something creative has been important for me. Getting back into playing that video game where I'm basically building a city is fun for me. I like that. It's takes my mind off things. I love talking about stuff. I love getting back into podcasting, and my cousin spearheading the Orlando Magic podcast is very good and very helpful for me. And so I just wanted to be able to share some of that stuff with people. It's just, I know there's probably a lot of other people that have those same problems, and they don't say anything, and they just kind of eat it, and they just stay inside themselves. And it's difficult. But when you start talking about these things with other people, and you learn, oh yeah, I've had that, or I've done this, and oh yeah, like, oh yeah, I watched like 10 hours straight of like 2.5 Men. I don't even like that show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people who just been there, they've been. And so I don't know. Everybody's case is different. People should do, what makes them feel happy. And honestly, for most of the time I've been back here in Boston, I've not been happy. And I'm making steps to change that. And part of that is talking and getting it out there, and not sitting on stuff. I've had a lot inside me for a long time I haven't shared, or I've just kept my mouth shut because, I don't want to offend anybody I might be employed by, or family and friends who may have different views on certain things. And this would be a time when I might normally cough and go COVID, but you don't want to cough in front of anybody anymore, because they'll think, oh, you got COVID. And that's been a big part of why I've been angry and mad, and also depressed over the past, months. It's just this thing, it won't go away. And it should. People should just ignore it and move on with their lives. People are starting to do that a little bit now, but it's like, they should have been doing this like a year ago. Like we had all this information. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just saying that was part of what's been hard for me. So I'm trying to get some of the stuff out, talk a little bit more, share, do things like this. And I think it's going to be helpful. I'm optimistic about stuff for the first time in a while, and feel like, okay, I'm not just going through emotion. I feel like I'm going through emotion that's trying to get me somewhere. As I started to say earlier, but didn't quite get to it, I think I was a little too light on myself about how hard it is to relocate, and then come back. As my therapist said, that's a huge move for a lot of people to be able to do that. To pick up and move. I've done it so many times that like, it's kind of, it's fun. I enjoy it. Like the last time I was truly happy, I think, was when I was driving out to Austin to like start my new life out there. And it just didn't happen. It just wasn't right. But, from what I've been talking about with my therapy, I think I made a mistake. I think I should have stayed out there. Lately, I've been thinking about changing careers, and I thought about changing careers just to stay out and live in Austin. And that's probably what I should have done. For a long time, I've been the kind of person that puts my career first, because that's all I got. I don't have a family or kids or anything like that, a significant other to like bounce something off, a reason to stay somewhere or go somewhere. There's nothing. So the career's been it. And I made a move for my career by moving down there, thinking I could, do the other stuff on the side. And then the job didn't work out, and I just got so mad and frustrated that I just kind of was offered a chance to come back and just jumped at it. And I don't know if it was necessarily the right move for me. A lot of things had to fall into place for that to happen. So it felt like, oh, this should be happen because so many things had to work out in order for this to happen. But sometimes that's just a coincidence. I don't know. I don't think it was the right move for me. I think I should have just stayed down there, changed careers, and tried living down there because I was just starting to make some friends, and just kind of starting to get things going. But I was only there 6 months, and then to just uproot and come back, it just, things weren't the same when I came back either. Like a lot was different than it was before. I wasn't dating the same person. I wasn't living in the same place. A lot of things at my job have changed as far as what I do on a daily basis. I can still do everything, but like what I'm asked to do, some of my duties are different. So it's just not the same. None of it's the same. And it was good here before, like at the job, but I didn't really enjoy Boston that much. And now it's like I'm not really enjoying the job and but enjoying Boston. So like, why am I here? Why'd I come back? It took me longer than it should have to like get there, and talk about it. Talking about it with my therapist helped a lot. And, he made me realize that like, hey, you needed to take some time and digest what was going on. I wanted a fresh start, and I get it. It was tough. I really wanted a huge, fresh, clean start, and I started to have it, but I got angry too fast, and a lot of stuff worked against me. And moving during a pandemic wasn't a good idea, probably. But just, I don't know. I'm still recovering, I guess, from it, which seems odd to say. The suck it up and get on with things part of me just feels like that shouldn't be a true statement, but it is. I was getting over that all summer. It was hitting me that like, oh, I'm just back in Boston now. Like I'm just kind of back where I didn't want to be. And it's a tough realization. I'm talking about it pretty easily and openly right now, but it took me a while to get to this point, and feel like I can share that. And that doesn't mean that I'm leaving Boston tomorrow or anything, making a hasty move or anything like that. I feel like I made a little bit of a hasty move in coming back as fast as I did. So I don't want to do that again. I'm just gonna go with the flow and see how things go. I've got to be here until next spring, so I'll do that and see how things go. I'm always the kind of person that makes the most out of every situation, or at least tries to have as much fun as I can in every situation. So, it's not like I'm gonna be stuck in the basement this whole time. And even if I was, I'd probably have more fun doing that than a lot of people would. So bottom line, it's been a weird time being back. I've now been back way longer than I was gone. So it seems odd to like still have it be part of it. But I remember recording my voice at one point when I was driving to work in Austin for like one of the last times, actually Cedar Park. And I just was like, hey, at some point, I'm going to make jokes that, hey, like, remember that time I moved to Texas? Because it'll be funny in the grand scheme of things. 6 months I was gone, and a lot of people might easily forget it, but, I won't. I'm never going to forget it. Like, I moved to Virginia for a month at one time and came back. I never forget that. I lived in Milwaukee for about a year and a half. I never forget that. Like, all these things that happen to you as you go through your life, they kind of make you who you are. And that's why I try not to have a ton of regrets, because it all really does shape you into who you are. And, maybe coming back to Boston is part of this whole thing in the first place. Maybe this is the reason I had to come back, start getting this therapy, start thinking about something else, and start to think about myself a little bit more outside of work and outside of career, because I feel like that has been at the forefront of my life for the past 20 years. This fall, it will be 20 seasons since I started in this industry back at UVM back in 2001. And it's taken me a lot of great places. I don't have any qualms or regrets about getting into it. I've definitely gotten to do way cooler stuff than a lot of other people have. But it's not like I'm making a ton of money doing it. So I'm having fun, but it comes at I'm not making the most money in the whole wide world. And I've enjoyed it, and a lot of people don't enjoy what they do, so that's something. But I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit less now that I'm older. It's not something I really always want to be doing anymore, and you need to find something new perhaps, or a new look on it, or something. I don't know. Something needs to change, but there's no need to change it tomorrow. It's just sort of a in due time. And yeah, so I don't know how long we've been recording. Can I see that? No, I can't. But anyway, I just wanted to try it, get a little video down, test having a podcast again, and see how it goes. I'd like to have more guests on. I have a bunch of people I'd love to get into a room with and just chew the fat and have fun again. Or maybe I can get them on a Zoom call and we can do one of those. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I really want to do something in this new era of podcasting after having what I had before. So I don't know. I'm down. I want to be doing this. So if you watch or listen to this and you're interested in being a guest, hit me up. Let's do it. Let's find a time. Even if you're not close to me, you got one of these computers, you got a microphone. Let's do it. Let's get on. Let's chew the fat about stuff. We can talk about stuff, personally first, and then like we can go on the show and just talk about random items going on in the world. Cause I love talking to people. Almost every time I talk to somebody that, it's just an enjoyable conversation, whether it's funny, wacky, serious, wherever we go. I like going there. And I don't see enough of people that I want to talk to that don't work for me. I mean, I got a lot of great people that work for me or with me, but I just, I want to talk to some people that are friends and people from all across the country that I know. And so, yeah, you could be that person. You could be the next guest. This looks really imposing. Look at that. You could be the next guest. Don't be afraid. Just come inside. It's going to be a good time. You don't even have to come down to my creepy basement. It's actually not creepy. It's a fucking dope ass basement. The basement's finished. It's got carpet on the floor. I got washer dryer over there. I mean, we're going to mate over here. Well, we want you for the podcast. We don't know what it's called, but it's coming soon. One of the things that pissed me off this week, I got to say it quickly. It was a very quick rant. I from what I've heard, he seems like a cool dude. I know he's a former quarterback of the Broncos. Jay Cutler starting a podcast, and he runs a commercial on the Adam Carolla podcast, which I listen to religiously, by the way. And he is giving this commercial is just so bland and so like, it's first of all, it's called a cut above, right? Like fucking no shit, guy. Like that's what you're going with. All right. So he's starting a podcast and he sounds so bland and dry on there. And he's like, this is what we're supposed to do. I was supposed to start a podcast. I'm doing the right thing, right? Well, I don't know. And it's like, fuck you, Jay Cutler. His podcast is going to have so many more thousands of followers than mine will, just because he's Jay Cutler, not because he's necessarily interesting. And it just made me mad because I'm like, I could be better than Jay Cutler at podcasting. And yet this tool is probably going to have thousands of people listening to him because he's going to get great guests. And damn it, I don't know. Maybe he's cool. He probably is cool. I heard what happened when him and his wife broke up and he seems cool. But the point is, people keep churning out podcasts. I want to be there. I want to be there churning out podcasts because I know my podcast will be quality because I'm a good talker. I'm a fast walker. I'm going to do this a lot. This is going to be a thing. I'm going to point at you. I'm going to bring that finger in for the forced perspective of letting you know that this is a you thing. So you sitting right there. You could be the first guest on the Pichcast. Am I calling it Pichcast? I don't know. We'll see. All right. A lot of rambling. We did all that. Lastly, before we go today, I just want to say Norm Macdonald passed this week, and Norm Macdonald is a super funny guy, a great Canadian, one of my favorite SNL guys of all time. Just his delivery of jokes is fantastic. There's nobody like Norm. I watch videos of Norm doing jokes and appearing on talk shows all the time on YouTube. And I know it's had a huge uptick this week as everybody else has done the same thing, but I was doing it before. And I've always been a huge fan of him. I love his deliveries. It's sad to see him go. And it's interesting to think about a guy that would have cancer for 9 years, not tell anybody and just kind of do his own thing. And it just seems like As I identify with it. I don't think it's weird at all. I totally get what he's doing. He didn't want people's sympathy. He didn't want to go out like that. He didn't want to be seen that way. He wanted to entertain people. He wanted to make people laugh. He just wanted to do his own thing. He wanted his privacy. And I totally get it. And I just rest in peace to a good man and a funny guy. And I'm telling you, YouTube some clips of him on Conan O'Brien, David Letterman, just telling a joke that takes up the entire segment. You're not going to be disappointed. It's so good. It's so good. So Norm Macdonald, rest in peace, sir. Godspeed to you. Godspeed to everybody watching. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. If you're listening, more to come.